I think sometimes in society we project our desires onto other women.
Yeah.
And I think we need to remember that not every woman wants to even be in a committed relationship. Not every woman wants to marry.
Yeah. I don't want to get to heaven to realize that everyone has used me apart from God. You're doing yourself a disservice by not blessing people with the talents and things that God has given you.
Can we delve into the love life a little bit, you know?
I recently just got into a very healthy, loving relationship. So in 2020, I had an accident. Yeah, I had an accident in May. Oh God, I'm really starting to cry.
Chunks of life, chunks of fashion, chunks of entertainment, chunks of relationships. So give me some more, give me some more, give me some more. Give me some more, give me some more, give me some more. Oh, yeah.
Hi guys, welcome back to the Mo Chunk Show, where we inspire and educate you to live well and thrive in your faith, career and relationships through conversations, events and more. And you can see we have an amazing guest in the building. It's Sarah Destiny.
Yay! I'm so excited to be here, man.
So I'm so excited to have you. Like, thank you so much for, coming on the show. You look stunning as ever.
She looks stunning, guys.
No, you look beautiful. If we're in competition, you want no competition no competition for my lady. Hey.
Oh, that song. I'm unavailable. Don't even get me started. Anyway.
So I love Davido's new album.
Yeah.
I love Davido generally. So anything he releases is a hit for me.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for joining
Thank
me
you for having me.
today in the studio. And I'm sure you guys are really, really excited to have Sarah on your screens today. We've got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about your journey, life, lessons, some really pivotal moments, that have shaped you and grown you, some tough moments.
Yeah.
We're going to just have a lovely chit chat.
Yeah.
But before we go into the deep conversation, I wanted us to have like a light debate. So we're first going to go into Chit Chat with Mo. Yes, I wanted to talk to you about, I don't know whether you've been seeing like all the talks about like young Miami and people kind of saying she's wasting her time with Diddy. I think I have an unpopular opinion.
Really? Do you want to share
about it? Okay, I'll
go first. I don't mind.
I feel like people are projecting on this lady.
Okay.
I feel like people are projecting on this lady because I guess the society we live in, and I really try to stay away from like talking about celebrities and stuff, unless I'm saying something positive. Like in this case, I feel like I'm defending young Miami, so I feel like I'm good to go.
Okay.
And I've seen a lot of people, say she's wasting her time. He's never going to marry her. He's not serious about the relationship with her, because I think there was a recent dialogue or an exchange on the red carpet.
Yeah, I saw
where
that
somebody
one.
said, what event was it?
Is this official or something like that?
Yeah, she said, is this official? And it kind of said, kind of like, what? Like,
no, what is that? I don't know what you're asking me.
So it's kind of like confused response. And everyone's like, oh, a man could never treat me like that. And, all these takes.
Yeah.
And my thing was, did young Miami call you and tell you that she wanted to marry Diddy? Did she tell you that where she was, on Nilara? Did she tell you that she was not happy with where she is?
Yeah.
I think sometimes in society we project our desires onto other women.
Yeah.
And I think we need to remember that not every woman wants to even be in a committed relationship. Not every woman wants to marry.
Yeah.
Young Miami is living her best life. She has a sponsor. And
literally a sponsor.
Those are all of the people that you have dated. What have you gained from that place? On that place. And I'm not saying relationships should be transactional, but when somebody is bettering your life like that, and if for you, from what I can see, she hasn't come out and said she wants. I don't know what she wants. Yeah. But from what I can see, she hasn't made it clear that she wants marriage or whatever. If she doesn't want marriage and she's benefiting from him, what's your issue? So I don't know what you think.
Well, I feel like before getting with P. Diddy, she was just known as being city girl. Now, now, of course, he's got her in Vogue. I think she had that talk show, Carisha
Please.
You know what I mean? And she's in rooms that I don't think, she would have gotten there by herself. I personally, is this something that I would do? I don't think so. Yeah. But she's living her life. She doesn't seem to be bothering anyone. I feel like P. Diddy, I think he's like 53 or something.
Yeah, he's an old man.
On one side, I'm even just like, You know? Uncle.
Yeah.
Do you know what
Don't
I
be
mean?
an Agbaya.
Do you know? Because that's what it's given. Like, I think he just had a baby like last year or something like that as well.
Right.
So it's almost
I
just
didn't
like,
even know that.
yeah, he had recently just a daughter. I think the baby's not even up to 6 months yet. And it's just like, at that age, you know? Yeah. That's just how I see it as. But
Oh my
I feel
gosh.
like for me, my questions are more structured, or should I say pointed towards PDD rather than to Carisha, because I feel like for Carisha it's just like, you know, she's young, he's getting her into places, he's given her an allowance, like she's just living her life knowing that she's still got how many years left to just do her own thing. But for me it's just like, PDD, like, you're a grown guy. Not saying what do you want out of life, because he's accomplished and achieved a lot,
he has.
but what are you doing? Like, do you want to settle down? Do you want to marry?
I don't think he wants to settle down.
I don't think so either.
He's made that very clear over the years.
Facts.
Settle down for what?
Yeah.
What's this down for?
Yeah.
At 53?
I know. And I do feel like as well, God rest her soul, but you know, with Kim Porter that passed away as well, I feel like in light of her death, it kind of showed people that maybe she was his like one true love.
Fair.
Like in life.
They were serious, weren't they?
They were serious before I think they separated, and you know, he started having other children and stuff. But I do feel like that was probably like his one true love, and he probably won't ever find a love like that again. So right now he's just...
You know, there's people like that. Some people, you know, especially like women, when they sadly lose their spouses, some of them don't marry again because sometimes it's just hard to like replace. Sometimes the thing of you've done it, and you don't necessarily
want to go through that.
Because it's like a commitment. You know, you might want to just do baby girl or baby boy after in PDD's case. But I just think like generally as a society, we need to just stop projecting onto other people like our wants and our needs. Like, the worst thing in the world is not an unmarried woman, and sometimes it feels like that. I don't know what you think of that. Like, I
know what you mean. I don't even know. A lot is going on in this world. I'm so sorry, and I just feel like on top of all of this, everyone should low-key just mind their business. They're doing what they're doing, and it's not affecting anyone else's life. Everyone can always have an opinion, which is fine. But I just, those are my thoughts on it. But I love Carisha. I think she's absolutely hilarious. I'm sorry.
She is. The little I've seen from her content, she seems to be doing really well.
She seems to be doing really well. I wish them the best.
What do you think about her kind of moving away from City Girls? I don't know if are they still together?
So I saw a recent video with JT, and she had an interview, and I think one of the interview questions were, you know, like, because I think people thought City Girls split up. But I think she was just along the lines of, you know, like, they're just both doing their own thing. Like, they're both although they are a group and a team, they both have individual lives.
Yeah, but didn't she say it was because of men?
Because a lot of men ruin things.
Oh my gosh!
It's really weird because I listen to City Girl music, like City Girl songs, when I'm just in the mood to just act like City Girl. Even though I know I'm not a City Girl, but just a little, little.
I mean, you can be a church girl with a bit of city undertones.
Do you know what I mean? It's necessary.
Okay, church buddies. What do they call them? Christian bad girl. Christian bad girl or Christian buddies.
Christian buddies. That's it. Christian buddies. But yeah, I like them, but I feel like I just love the fact that they're just young and they're fun and they're just doing their thing. Yeah. Like, people always expect you once you reach a certain age, just be so serious but they're honestly just having fun, and everyone needs to have fun in their lives. Just adopt that attitude, because you don't want to age yourself before your time.
Exactly. So please, leave Carisha alone. She's not doing anything.
Carisha, please.
Carisha, please. Literally, leave her alone. She's just doing her thing, getting her opportunities. Not every woman is heartbroken because they're not in a relationship or they're not in a marriage. Yeah. But yes, girl. We're going to talk about. Yeah. It's always nice, just a little lightheartedness before we, get into the real gist of what we're talking about. And you haven't watched Bridgerton yet.
Not yet. Not yet. But I'm watching it this week. Do you know, even on my TR, I'm seeing the posts, I'm seeing memes, and I can't even relate. I don't even know what they're talking about. No, nothing.
Okay.
This week I'm catching.
I don't want to give you spoilers.
I feel like I've already seen spoilers,
Really?
On Twitter, yeah.
I want to say something, but I don't know if it's going to ruin it for you.
Maybe don't say it.
I'm literally itching. Okay, it won't be a spoiler.
Okay.
I think it's just different from the other ones.
Okay.
Let me just say that.
In a good or bad way?
For me, a bad way.
Really?
No, there's some really lovely moments, don't get me wrong, but there were some moments that I was just sitting there like...
Really?
Not for like the bait reasons, but it will be clear. Okay. I'll let you guys in on what I think
this
of.
Week.
Yeah, what I think of it. But anyway, girl, let's get into you. How are you? How have you been?
I'm okay.
You know, how's life been treating you?
I'll be honest. First quarter of this year, it showed me Pepe.
Q1.
Yeah. Q what? Hey, God.
Q1.
I remember at the end of Q1, I just said, there's no way this is how the year is going. Because if I have 4 of these, I might lose it. But you know what? I take breaks a lot. Okay. A lot. Like, I think sometimes some people actually think I'm not okay, and it's fine. Mental health first. But I when majority of things started piling, like it was just one after the other. I just took a break and I was just like, God, I don't know what's going on.
A break from what?
Break from
life,
socials,
career,
life, career. I quit my job.
Oof.
Yeah, so
everything.
Everything. Oof. Like, I quit my job. And that was such a hard decision. But I knew I had to.
Where were you? What kind of industry?
So pretty much project management. Okay. Project / account management. So I worked for BMW Group.
Oh wow, nice.
So I was very much very, very hectic there. But I was pretty much, like managing campaigns and a lot was going on.
Where do people find these jobs?
They actually found me. Yeah.
Okay.
They actually found me. Ish. So I saw there was a tweet on Twitter circulating and it had different positions for a company. It didn't say what the company was. So the girl was like, if anyone is interested, send your CV, and if I feel like you fit the job role, then, I'll pass it on. Send her my CV. She was like, you'll be great, blah, blah, blah. Within like a month, I had 3 interviews and then, got the job.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Obviously, I know some things happened, but yeah.
Thank you. No, it was a big experience for me. I have had serious jobs since I've graduated, but for me this was really like serious. Like, I was actually managing a team and I had to make sure I'd done my work, because if I didn't do my work, there'll be like it was a lot. In a nutshell, my direct line manager, she went away on maternity leave, so they had someone in to replace her, and that woman didn't replace her. So she was supposedly a director. She didn't know much anyway. She was supposedly a director. Sorry, I need to stop saying the story about shading people, but I have to.
It's okay, be yourself, girl.
But long story short, she was very incompetent. She didn't do her job. I became now stressed because on top of her not doing her job, I was pretty much doing her job for her. But during that time and period, it wasn't being appreciated or, anything like that. And I'm the type of person, when it comes to work, whenever there's issues, I like to nip it in the bud ASAP, because we're in a professional environment. If you don't do your job, it makes it harder for me. It makes it harder for the team. I raised it to the MD and he pretty much told me, it's your responsibility to step up now that XX isn't here. We would really appreciate if you've done more, if you've done this, you know. And I'm just the type, I don't know if it's a millennial or Gen Z thing or whatever they like to call it, but I'm only doing what I've been contracted to do.
We're not taking that shit from you.
We're not taking from nobody, okay? Literally from no one. And I remember like literally opening that email and I was just shaking. Like, I was just like, wait, what? I'm telling you I'm having problems here. I'm telling you the person who's probably on triple my salary isn't doing her job, and you're telling me it's my responsibility to step up and support and this and that. During this time, a lot happened, but I was given a performance improvement plan.
Okay. What you were?
I sent an email by HR because apparently someone had been monitoring my work over the past couple of weeks and they felt like there were problems with someone who I'm covering, by the way. So I remember I got the email. Oh, gosh. I actually got the email on the last day of work because I was going on annual leave the following week. I got the email and I opened it up and I read it to my mum. And my mum said, Mum said, are they mad? So my mum told me that I cannot, they invited me to the meeting and everything. I declined the meeting. She told me I shouldn't accept it because once you do, you almost pretty much say, okay, I agree to the things that you're saying. I declined the meeting. I said, I'm very, disappointed to be hearing this just before my annual leave starts. I don't know how I'm supposed to enjoy my annual leave knowing that I'm coming back to a very toxic work environment. And also number 2, I don't feel like I should be penalised for other people's issues within the team. So I'm happy for us to have a meeting with the entire team to discuss roles and responsibilities, but I'm not happy to accept that my performance, that I've been underperforming over the past couple of months because I haven't been.
Okay.
when that happened again, came back from my annual leave, HR retracted what they said and pretty much apologised, saying, oh, they're very sorry, they don't want me to feel bad.
Good.
Or whatever. Because BMW is based in Germany, we were flown out to Germany the following week to have a group team meeting to go over roles. And then, after a month, I thought things were going to change. Things didn't change. I then requested for a sabbatical because I was offered a 5-week placement for another organisation. And my job actually do allow people to have sabbaticals. I put it in and they declined it. They were just like, no, that my manager doesn't think the team can cope if I'm not here, blah, 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 blah. The same manager that's incompetent, by the way. And I was just like, well, I haven't been happy here for the past couple of months, so please accept this as my formal notice. And I literally quit without a backup plan.
Wow.
I prayed about it, and I sometimes just feel like when you're placed in environments and situations that it's almost like God makes that environment uncomfortable for you.
Gosh.
You can't stay there.
Yeah.
Like you cannot. Even if you tried, I feel like another thing would just slap you in the face. And I felt like God was making that environment so uncomfortable for me that I just had to leave.
Yeah.
I needed my peace of mind. I was crying relentlessly nearly after every Friday because I just felt like my work wasn't really appreciated, yet I'm doing so much for the company, and it just got a lot. So when I really prayed about it, I just felt God telling me it's time to go. And I was worried because we're in cost of living crisis.
Because he lives.
It's because he lives.
Yeah.
You know, because he lives. I work for a great company. I'm earning the highest salary I've ever earned in my life. And I'm literally closing the doors to that because God just needs me to move.
Yeah.
So it was a lot, you know, and dealing with that, it was a lot. And then health challenges as well. I have PCOS. So still navigating what I can eat, what I can't eat, effects on my skin, effects on my body, effects on my mood. Just a lot going on. And I just needed time to rest.
Yeah.
So Q1 for me was literally a restructuring, but also just time to just rest. And I think it's hard sometimes as well, because when you enter the new year, everyone's like, you know, what's 2023, what's it going to be? Make sure you don't have the same year as last year. Make sure you do this, do that. And then it's like, oh, well, I'm actually a couple months in and I don't feel good about this year already, but I'm going to still trust God because I don't want to write things off before it's time.
Amen to that.
So in a nutshell, that's how I've been.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a lot, but I thank God I'm still standing, and I thank God I'm still in the faith. Because I think situations like that, it can easily cause you to just give up on God. But I just trust that God has something bigger and better ahead.
Yeah, we were literally talking about, when Deji was here, we were talking about a lady on Twitter that said she kind of gave up on the faith because she realised that God has favourites.
Wow.
And I felt so sad because I understood what she was saying. She even quoted scripture where it says God said he will have mercy on who he will have mercy on. And of course, I'm not a theologian. Please don't come for me in the comments. Saying, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm not a theologian. But I really empathize with her in a sense of things can really make you lose your faith, you know.
100%.
Even if you're not under prosperity gospel, because people always say, it's, you know, when you're under prosperity gospel, you believe God will always make everything right for you, and that's why you're disappointed a lot. Even when you've moved away from those kind of movements, sometimes you can still be disappointed
100%.
and you can still feel like God, where are you? You know? And, you know, all the promises that's in the Bible, why they're not applying to me? Why am I not part of the favourites like that girl said?
Preach.
You know, why am I on your list of strongest soldiers yet again?
Why?
What's going on? That is not what we discussed in overnight service, you know? So I understand that the faith can be really difficult to navigate and also to maintain and sustain. But thank God that we're not the one that sustain and maintain our faith. Is, you know, the sacrifice that Jesus Christ made for us on the cross.
Amen.
But, you know, speaking of faith, you know, I came across you a long while ago when we all began on the YouTube scene, and you know,
we actually started around the same time.
Around the same time, literally the scene. Oh gosh, I miss it so much.
Oh wow, take me back.
Yeah, literally, I believe you were making Christian content and, you know, really breaking down scripture. That was your thing.
Yeah.
What made you kind of go? Why did you choose to go that direction? We're in a world of people that were doing comedy. People I was doing what's trending at the time. Obviously fashion, blogging, all that array of niches.
Yeah.
And you chose to go down the Christian faith kind of content. What kind of made you want to go that direction?
Many things. Number one was that I was brought up in the faith. So I've always known church, Sunday, Bible study, this or that. But I feel like, so when I started uni, I actually went through a really bad breakup. Yeah, my first ever boyfriend.
Yeah.
I cried. Hey, Amo.
Yeah.
I cried. Like, I remember just feeling like, wait, what? Almost like my heart had just been... And
was that your first
That was my
heartbreak?
first boyfriend, first heartbreak, first anything. So during that time, my friend Comfort, shout out to Comfort. She's actually one of my Comfort. She's one of my favorite people ever. She was really like in the faith, like proper. So she'll be like, Tolu, that's my Nigerian name. Tolu is gonna be fine. You know, she'll give me like maybe a scripture here or there, just to encourage me. And I feel like even prior to all of this, I've always loved YouTube. I've always been obsessed with it. Like obsessed. I just found it so cool how you can literally just post something and it can reach someone in India, someone in Nigeria, someone in Brazil, like just having a community that isn't, do you know what I mean? It's just so amazing. And I feel like obviously at this time, the other platforms weren't really popping like that. YouTube was really in its prime. And I just kind of felt like being a Christian and dealing with the heartbreak and everything like that, one, it allowed me to fall back on God again, because I realized that I had pretty much made this guy my God and he wasn't my God. And where did that go wrong? Like, what exactly happened there? So I was really trying to understand my faith a bit more. You know, I think sometimes when you're born into religion, you're born into faith, you feel like by default I have to be here, but it's more about understanding why. You know, why do we believe in God? You know, it shouldn't just be because my mum took me to church. All about that one-to-one relationship. And after through the whole healing process and stuff, I just kind of felt like God was telling me that I had a voice and I needed to use it, because like you said, so many people were doing comedy and, you know, this and that. But I didn't really feel like there were many people who were speaking about faith online. And on top of that, I didn't feel like there were many young people speaking about faith. Anytime we spoke about faith, it was always maybe a reverend, this who's like 50 something or someone who's 40 something. What about young people who are going through things in their faith, and who do they have to relate to online? And I just felt like, okay, well, not saying that I think I'm funny, but I do feel like I do feel like I have a very, I would like to say I believe I have a very likable personality. And for some reason, I find it easy to combine that with speaking about topics about the Bible and faith easily. And I just felt like, okay, well, this is a perfect avenue and time for me to do that. I didn't want to be judgmental. I wanted to speak about real life issues that many of us were going through. I think my first video was, I don't know if it was about, I spoke about loving yourself and self-love and how that links to the Bible and being fearfully and wonderfully made. So just making content relatable. And for some reason as well, I actually feel the most confident when I speak about faith. It's like, my heart is like, I don't know, maybe there's just a ray of light just beaming inside, and there'll be times when I will be speaking and I'll watch the videos back and I don't even know who I'm looking at. Because I will just be like,
is that me?
Is that me? Is that Sarah? Because I'll be like, and I'll be so amazed. And I feel like for me, it just felt like that was just the move and the touch of God, that he would just give me wisdom and insight as I'm speaking. And I just kind of felt like, you know, there's one thing that I always say is that you never know who you're inspiring, and you never know who your words are going to touch. That's why I love your content so much. But you never know who your words are going to touch. And as Christians, we need to understand that we're vessels. You know, like some people don't understand God, they don't understand Jesus, but they can understand God and Jesus through your love, through your speech, through your actions. And I just really wanted to embody that and just continue making content like that. You know, when like scripture says, you know, we are to be the light of our world. I really just want to be the light to my world. And just using your talents and your gifts and things that you're passionate about. And God is so good. So it's like, why shouldn't I speak about him?
Amazing. Now, as you were speaking, that reminds me of this phrase, we are nothing but pencils in the hands of God. Have you heard that?
You know what? I think I've even seen like a poster for it, and it's got a hand holding him.
Oh my gosh. Oh, those Nigerian adverts used to kill me. Honestly, like, so exaggerated, but, you know, it makes sense. And I think it's so beautiful that you kind of availed yourself in that way. I think everyone has their own unique callings, and it's very easy to get swept away in what's popular or what we think will do well. And when you're called to something that's more unique and more tailored to you and your audience, it can be quite difficult to answer that call. So it's really, really brilliant that you kind of, you delved into that really, really beautifully. Along the way, I did notice that you were into like Love Island reviews. Obviously, like someone might say that's very different from like the faith
I've received
content.
a lot of backlash from it.
Really?
Yeah. I've received a lot of love because a lot of people love my reviews, but I've received a lot of backlash.
From Christians, from non-Christians?
From Christians. Okay. Mainly from Christians. Non-Christians, it's just people giving their 2 pence, which I don't really care about.
Yeah.
But from Christians, yeah, I remember like when I first started, someone was like, they'd noticed that I'm no longer in the faith anymore, that I'm...
From where to where? Sorry, I'll let you continue, but from where to where?
From where to where? Like, where did we land? How did we get here?
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I had people telling me that I'm not a Christian anymore, that I'm reviewing the devil's show, I'm condoning sex before marriage, I'm condoning multiple this, and literally, and I think in one of my videos, when it's just started getting a bit too much, I just said, guys, I'm not even trying to be funny or anything, but this is just a show. The second Love Island is done and I film my review and I edit and I post, I go back to my normal life, like, my life isn't Love Island. I can still love God and still love watching shows. But yeah, and it was, sadly, just as you said, it was mainly from Christians as well.
Yeah.
And people telling me you're not in the faith, you're not a Christian anymore. People saying that I'm unsubscribing, I don't care for this content. Like, I had people even saying like, my last faith video was 6 months ago, what's going on? And I think it's hard because you also need to understand that, yeah, being in the faith is great, but people also go through things. And there have been periods in my life where I haven't felt the need or had the zeal to speak about my faith because I'm still trying to deal with things myself with faith. So it was a shame, but I didn't let that stop me because, everyone's got their own things that they love, and I can love God and also love doing my daily reviews.
It's very interesting because I relate to that so much because I remember when I was doing like what's trending and everything.
I was about to mention that as well, if you felt the same way. Yeah.
I felt like a heathen. I felt like, why am I gossiping? That kind of thing. Although I did eventually move away from what's trending, but not because I didn't feel like a Christian.
Yeah.
I moved away from it because I just couldn't keep up.
Yeah.
With like the weekly, trending topics and
it was a lot.
Yeah,
I really commend you for doing it.
Wanting to move my life more towards like timeless content and wanting to have a more rested life.
Yeah.
I felt like I couldn't really move as fast as I used to. When you're doing what's trending without a team, it can get a lot. So that's why I moved away from it. But I do remember many times feeling like, is what I'm doing in contrast with the faith? But I remember like God comforting me at many times that, I've sent you into the media industry for a reason. You just have to be a light. Because I think sometimes we feel like as Christians, we have to be Christian musicians.
Yeah.
Christian art or gospel artists, gospel YouTubers, gospel or Christian, whatever it may be. And we don't realize that we can actually go into spaces and just be an artist and just be a presenter and just be, your light can shine in 100%. Your conduct, the way you approach things. Because, something that people used to say to me all the time was that, oh, you're so gracious in the way you speak about these topics. You're never slanderous, that kind of thing. But yeah, I think sometimes we get caught up as Christians, and when we see people do things that, we feel like, oh, that's a risk.
Yeah.
Or you should never do that as a Christian or whatever it may be, we start to project that onto people, similar 100%. To what we're talking about, projecting on Young Miami. Start to project our fears onto people and, imagine declaring that someone has left the faith when they never came to your house to have a meeting.
As in...
They never ever made it... Fair enough, you watch them on YouTube. She never even came on YouTube to say, oh, I'm no longer a Christian. You made that assumption.
Yeah.
And you kind of
ran with it.
Based on your personal convictions.
Yeah.
I think that's what we do sometimes as well. We use our personal convictions as Bible.
Yeah, yeah. And it's just not it.
Yeah, I never once looked at those Love Island reviews and thought, oh, is Sarah not a Christian?
I just found it so weird. I remember seeing the DMs. I was so confused.
DMs, they really wanted to get to you.
Yeah, it was DMs from accounts with no image. And I remember just thinking it was just really weird. I won't lie. And I think I found it a bit weird as well because although I do the Love Island reviews, I do them in a certain way that is quote unquote still respectful. Like there are certain things I don't say. I don't swear on the thing. I wouldn't necessarily cuss somebody direct. Do you know what I mean? Like all I do is I watch the show and I literally say what's on the show because a lot of people don't watch the Love Island episodes. They'd rather just watch the reviews and give my little 2 pence. So it was very shocking to kind of hear that just from a little 12, 13-minute review that you can think that I've left the faith. When in actual fact, I'm going through battles in my faith and that's why I don't want to film any faith content, But once again, just as she said, like it's about recognizing that you can be who you are, and you can go where you want to go and do the things that you want to do, and just allow your light to still, in some shape, way, or form, shine through.
Yeah.
I think that's very important.
Very, very important. I think there's nowhere that you can go that you can't operate as a Christian, but you don't have to be outrightly saying with a poster, hi, you know,
Jesus.
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
And I think even what you did in terms of the times where you didn't feel so great in your faith, taking a step back, that's honorable. A lot of us won't do that. A lot of leaders, seasoned leaders in the faith, would rather just continually, like, you know, show up knowing that they're struggling with certain things, knowing that they're committing certain atrocities behind closed doors. And instead of them to just sit with God for a season, they continue to... You know,
and if anything, that just, I feel like with that, it just drives burnout. I remember, I forgot, it was a quote. I love quotes, but it was a quote or something that I saw, and it was basically saying, like, don't allow yourself to get to that stage. Like, you shouldn't be burning out so frequently. If you are, it's because you need to take a step back. If constantly you light your flame and you burn out, you light your flame and burn out, you need to just stop and slow down. And I think that's just another thing that people, especially in the faith, need to understand. Like, it's great to show up, i.e. like maybe you're battling through things and you still go to church because you just still want to feel that sense of community and that you know, God and in all his glory. But at the same time, it's okay to take a step back. Like, there are many people in the Bible where, you know, God just wanted them to have a season of stillness. And that's important because we need to have those seasons. You can't always run on 100, because if anything, I think when you get to that stage, you start running on your own power instead of God's power. So yeah, of course you're going to be burnt out because you can't do everything by yourself, you know? And yeah, just as you said, it's important to just take time out. Like, it really is. Rest doesn't hurt anyone.
It doesn't,
you know?
no.
It's necessary.
Yeah, and it doesn't take away from your life. I think, in fact, it adds to your life. It adds to your productivity.
That's a very valid point.
So that you can show up again. And I think sometimes, like, everyone has unique experiences with God. I think when I'm being stubborn and I don't want to slow down, there's, like, God will force me to slow down. Either... you know, so I just feel terrible in my body, or sometimes you'll be trying something so hard, but nothing is working in that season.
Yeah.
Because you need to go and
sit down. Joko, sit somewhere.
It will tell you softly, sit down.
Yeah.
Sit down. Okay. And you'll be trying and striving. But it's not a season for you to be productive.
Yeah.
It's a season for you to rest.
Yeah, you're right.
And it's so beautiful when we actually listen to God. But you mentioned that you love quotes. And I love that, you guys may not be aware, but I love that you went into, like, creating, like, journals. So it started with, like, note to selves on the socials.
Yeah.
And then you developed that further into, like, products.
Yeah.
Do you still do that?
Yeah.
Yeah? Amazing.
We release products every year. We're on our third journal right now.
Oh.
Well, third journal.
Year, so 2023 is the latest one. 3 years. Yeah.
Insane. But yeah, that started off as tweets, and it just goes back to what I said before. With you just never know you never know who's watching you, who you're inspiring, even if it's one person. I started it on Twitter. It's so funny though, because I actually started Note to Self because of another breakup. God, what's going on?
That's break.
Heartbreak is birthing something. But I went through. God, what's going on?
It's not even funny.
It's not funny. I don't know. But I thank God I can smile now.
Yeah.
I thank God I can smile now.
Yeah.
But something happened in my most recent relationship. And I just felt so broken. And I literally I remember just going on Twitter, and I love tweeting, by the way. I'm always tweeting. I remember going on Twitter just saying, you're beautiful and you can handle anything that life throws at you. #Note to Self. So it was tweets for me. It wasn't for anyone else. I just needed it for myself, like as just daily reminders. The more I started tweeting it, the more I started seeing more retweets, more favorites and everything. And then the way I knew that it was impacting people was one day I forgot to tweet. And someone actually sent me a DM like, hey Sarah, I hope you're okay. Didn't see your Note to Self tweet today. Just wanted to check if it's coming. Like, I remember when I say I was shocked, I need to get her name because I owe her a lot. Wow. And I remember just thinking, wow, like people actually care about this. Then I remember speaking to my friend Alison. Shout out to Alison. I'm trying out all my friends today. I was speaking to my friend Alison, and she randomly, it was literally like 2 a.m. I'm always up at random times, by the way. It was like 2 a.m. I think she posted a story. I just responded to her story, and she responded instantly like, "Hey Sarah, how you been? Oh my gosh, loving the note to self tweets." I was like, "Oh, thanks so much." And she was just like, "Have you thought about, you know, making a platform for it?" I was just like, "No." And she was just like, "Yeah, like, you know, consider it." And instantly, I just received so much zeal and power. I was just like, "Okay, great." I set up an email. I went on Instagram. I was trying to type notes to self. Someone took the name. So annoyed. The person has 14 followers.
Can you please?
The person last post was in like 2016. Can they release it?
Can you release it?
I tried to send them a DM. No response to this
day.
They
aired you. Just be holding silly ads.
Just be holding it. Even
hostage.
Sarah Destiny is gone. That's why I had to add the X.
Okay, yeah.
Then I think I tried Notes to Self today, just different stuff. And then Notes to Self Daily was available. I was like, all right, cool. It's a daily platform, a daily post. Let me just go for that. It just started as a post. I was just posting every day. People were reposting it. I was like, okay, it's actually slowly becoming something. In regards to the journals, this is a story in itself. And I hope I don't cry.
Tell us.
But, so in 2020, I had an accident.
Yeah,
I had an accident in May. Oh God, I'm really starting to cry.
Okay, should we get some tissue? Oh my goodness. Worry. Okay, you got them ready?
I always have tissues.
Okay.
I had a feeling we were going to touch on this, but at the same time I said, I don't know if she will. 1 second.
Take your time.
Okay.
Ooh. Take your time. Take your time.
I don't smudge this now, my concealer.
It's okay.
But
this is a safe space.
Thank you so much. In 2020... Oh God.
Okay, take your time. Take your time. Relax.
Oh God. God is so good.
He is.
Ooh.
Amen. Oh gosh.
Sorry.
Don't get me going.
I'm sorry.
By the time of the above, I will start here now as well.
All right. I'm gonna try and get through this.
Okay.
But in 2020, I had a car accident 2 days before my birthday. That testimony changed my life, and it's still changing my life today. My car, which just passed its MOT, by the way, it just stopped working on the motorway. It literally went from 70 miles per hour to 0, unprovoked. I knew it was the enemy because prior to that, there was something that happened with my car, which is why I took it for a service. My brakes were just acting a bit funny, and I was already driving on another road, and it was acting funny then. I remember closing my eyes. You shouldn't close your eyes during scary stuff like this, but I closed my eyes, and I remember shaking. People came to my car, and then when I went home and I prayed, God told me, like literally I heard the Holy Spirit tell me that God isn't done with me yet.
Amen. And
I remember when I heard that word, I made I don't know why, and now I thank God that I made that promise and I stuck to it, which is why it's also very important when you make a promise to God to keep it, because you don't know when that promise will save you. I made a promise to God that before my birthday, which was the week after, I was going to release this testimony video. Don't know why I made the promise. I don't even make promises to God like that, but I made the promise. I think on the 29th, I posted that video. Yeah, I posted that video of, guys, something happened with my car, but, you know, like, God told me he's not done with me just yet. And I made a promise, I need to post this video. So on the following week, I was on my way back to Kent. I live in Kent. Yeah. And I was on the motorway. I was playing my worship music. I was even thinking about, I need to take out my hair so my mum can wash it, so I can get it braided, I need to get my wig done. And all of a sudden, I just remember feeling in the car, you know when you're driving on the motorway, you feel the speed. Yeah. I just remember feeling that the car was getting slower, and I didn't know why it was getting slower. So as I'm trying to focus on the fact it's getting slower, I'm looking down and I can see it just going 70, 60, 50. My legs is still on the accelerator, by the way. The thing is just going down, that side of the motorway is very busy. So there are no cameras there. So people aren't even doing 70. Some people, you can see them driving 100, 120. And I was already on the second lane. And because it was going down so quickly, because it was so busy, I couldn't make it onto the hard shoulder. So I was literally in the second lane and my car just stopped. At that point, I call my mum for everything. So I call my mum. My mum even told me after, she's so shocked that I was sounding so calm because she thought I was on the hard shoulder with how calmly I was speaking to her. I was just like, hi mum, my car stopped working, I'm on the motorway. My mum was like, oh, okay, I'll call AA. You know, is everything okay? I was like, yeah, I didn't tell her I was in the second lane. I was like, yeah, everything's fine. Okay, just let me know when you call them. So then 2 minutes later or so, my mum calls me back to tell me that, yeah, AA are on their way, is everything okay? And now, all of a sudden, I start, you know when you feel fear in your heart? All of a sudden, someone who was once calm, I just started feeling fear in my heart. And you know, like when you go on a roller coaster, you just get that uncomfortable feeling in your chest. That's literally what I felt. And I was just like, I was on the phone to my mum at the time. I just said, oh, mum, I'm not feeling like okay. And she's like, is everything okay? Now, at this point, because I'm stationary and cars are speeding so fast, their speed is causing my car to shake.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm just like, mum, I'm not okay. Like, I'm not okay. And she's just like, what's the matter? I just said, I don't know. I just don't feel okay. Instantly, I just put my head, it's almost like I knew something was going to happen. I remember just putting my head down. God, I just remember putting my head down and the force that hit me from behind, Mo, I've never in my life felt that way before. I've never felt that before in my life. I just remember being plunged, like, oh God. I remember being plunged. I went from the second lane to the fourth, which is, people say, the fastest lane. My car just spun in circles. We're on a motorway, for goodness sake. My car just spun in circles.
God.
And I shouted, I was on the phone to my mum. I shouted, mum. Like, I was on the phone. I shouted, mum. By the time I opened my eyes, hey, Omar, maybe this eyelash will come off. By the time...
I don't know if we can find something.
It's okay. I'm okay. It'll be fine.
Okay.
By the time I opened my eyes, I just remember, like, blood was just gushing out my nose. My head, I had the fattest bump on my head. Like, think of like a fist in my head. My wheel was off. No airbag came out. My wheel was off. My mirror was... And I just remember, I just looked up and I just started shouting, help, help. People ran to my car. One lady came. She was like, I'm sorry, I've called the ambulance. They're on their way. I was just shaking. I couldn't even speak. By the time the ambulance came, which wasn't too late, because Medway Hospital was probably like, from where I was, maybe like 15-minute drive. The ambulance came and instantly I remembered that I was on the phone to my mum when they wanted to take me in, because they were worried with the bump on my head. They thought like I had like a skull or brain
trauma,
something.
Yeah.
Then instantly I just started saying I was my mum. Like, I was talking to my mum. So they tried to get, the car was a hot mess, but they tried to like find my phone in the car. Then they called my mum. My mum was just shouting. Oh God, my mum was just shouting. I just remember her saying, Tolu, my daughter, is she dead? Is she dead? Is she dead? Like, she was just screaming. And I remember that the paramedic was just like, she's fine, mum, she's okay. We're making our way to Medway. She's talking, she's blinking, because they were like telling me to follow their hand to make sure I was all right. Got to the hospital. They ran the CT scan and MRI, both. And they luckily were like, you know, there was nothing was fractured or anything like that, apart from my spine was long, but they put me on bed rest for, I think it was for 9 weeks. Yeah, I was on bed rest for 9 weeks. I could barely move. Like, my mum was literally helping me bath, bringing up food, obviously, to my room and everything. It was a lot. And I remember just feeling so emotional, knowing, one, it was literally just before my birthday, meaning I don't think I was supposed to see that year. And number two, it made me, like, things happen to people, don't get me wrong, but when something so traumatic like that happens, I had no choice but to believe that there was a God. There's been times when things have happened in life and I've been like, oh, is God really there? Is God? From that situation onwards, I had no choice but to believe that there is a God and that there's a calling on my life, because I should have been dead. I should have been dead that week before when that situation happened. And I should have been dead just before my birthday. And I remember when they were holding, my mum and like my aunts and pastors, I think they were holding like night vigils and stuff. And my mum was saying like, she's thanking God that they didn't have to say Tolu would have turned this age, or we have to start, instead of planning for a birthday and getting a cake, we had to start planning for a funeral and looking for, like, do you get what I mean? And it from that moment on, it made me realise that you have to honestly do what God has called you to do. When God is giving you a vision in your heart, you have to go for it, because you don't know when you're going to take your last breath. You don't know when you're going to die. And I don't like thinking like that, because it's very negative. But at the same time, if only people value life so much, I feel like people will just do so much more. And that year was the year we released the first journal. I'm just remembering why we were speaking about this. Gosh. That's the year we released the first journal for Note to Self. And it was just a testament of God's grace and favour. And like, when when God gives you a vision, like I said, just go for it. And God already gave me the vision of Note to Self being a platform to help people with products and stuff like that. But I remember just thinking, I don't have time to do it. I'm scared. I don't know if anyone's going to buy it. But after that ordeal and after being taken off bed rest and just really understanding what I want my mark to be in this world and how I want God to use me, I had no choice but to release a journal that year. And that year we released the Unlocking My Full Potential journal, which was obviously for 2021. And yeah, that's how Notes to Self came about, and it's honestly just been going. And don't get me wrong, there are times I do still get discouraged sometimes, where I just kind of, that just doubt just starts to come over you. And anytime it happens, God always reminds me of my testimony. Like, you may feel fearful, you may be scared, you may be worried, but you may not have been here if it wasn't for my favor and for my grace over your life. And that's just all that's been keeping me going all the past 3 years, really. So yeah. Wow. That's how Notes to Self became.
I don't think you realize how dumbfounded I am right now. Like, I am in a space of shock.
It's just God. Yeah, it's honestly just God. It's really just God, because I could have never ever imagined that would have happened to me ever in my life. Ever. But God is faithful. And that's why it's just so important to just do things now, because you just don't know when you don't know when your last day on earth is going to be. And when that last day comes, you will then have to answer to somebody, because the things I gave you, what did you do with them? So I honestly understand why people say feel the fear and do it anyway, because at the end of the day, like, God will hold you accountable of the gifts that he gave you, and you're doing yourself a disservice by not blessing people with the talents and things that God has given you. You're doing yourself a disservice, and it's not just always about you, it's just about how God wants to use you. And you don't know how many people could be saved just by your yes.
They say procrastination is the arrogant assumption that God will give you tomorrow to do what he asked you to do today.
That's strong. I've never heard that before. I've never.
That's literally what just dropped in my spirit right now as you're speaking about saying yes. I don't think I've ever been speechless in my life. Oh, wow. And I like to talk.
God is amazing. That testimony shaped my entire faith walk, my entire journey. My outlook on God changed, completely shifted. It let me know that he drops things in our spirits because he's intentional about the fruit that will come from that. I honestly just kept going back to the fact that I just kept saying, if I didn't give that testimony before, maybe that testimony is what saved my life.
And it was before. Do you get it? It wasn't after.
It was right before.
And obviously the bigger testimony came.
The bigger testimony came after.
But it was almost like in perfect sequence.
Yeah. I literally just had to wonder if I didn't give that testimony, I don't know if I would have died on that day.
I'm grateful to God that you're still here.
Thank you, Mo.
I'm so sorry that you went through that, and honestly, the thought of the fear at the time when it was going on, your mom hearing that on the other side of the phone, and probably not hearing anything for the next 5-10 minutes or so, literally. And wondering what has happened to my daughter.
She said my mom was in bed because she just got back from night work, so she was sleeping when I called her. But she literally said, like, the second it happened, like, she actually ran out the house without any shoes to get into the car to drive on the motorway to see where I was. And then she said that when she even got outside and she realised her toes were out, she quickly went back in to quickly go and find some slippers to wear. But I thank God. I thank God for my mum's prayers. I genuinely feel like our parents' prayers is what keeps us. And I just thank God for life. Because the enemy could have honestly had the last laugh that day, but God said no.
Amen.
And that is,
Mercy said no. I don't even know the full song, but that part just, wow. Yeah, we actually thank God, and we thank God for his grace, because, sometimes God's grace looks like calling people home, but this time God's grace looked like, giving you another chance. which is really, really beautiful. I remember seeing it on Instagram and being like, oh my gosh, like.
I remember someone said it, I remember when I came back to socials, someone said it again, because of the testimony that happened right before. But it honestly let me know that Satan's mad. Oh, he's so crazy. But at the same time, just as you said, God is faithful, and like I said, it just reminded me once again that God is real.
Yes.
Many times in your life, you can sometimes feel like he's not there, he's not real, but he's there. Even down to, even if you don't feel like he's real, you being able to come back to your house safely, that's God's protection that's kept you,
Yeah,
you know?
it's the little miracles. I always say the little miracles for me that really remind me of God's faithfulness. Like even a roof over my head, you know, amazes me. And, you know, God providing in the most random ways. You know, even when I'm not really looking for something and, you know, he looks out for me in advance. And yeah, God is faithful.
He is.
God is amazing. I don't even know how to move on from that. No, seriously, like I do think we need to soak it in. Like if you're watching as well, I feel like that is a moment to really soak in terms of God's goodness, God's mercy, God's protection.
It's real. It's really real. You know, you hear stories of people who go through similar things and they don't make it. You know, and
it's not because we're better than them.
It's not. It really isn't. I wish I knew an answer for it. I don't. It's not because we're better than them. But
I always say the mystery of life. I don't know the mind of God, and I will never fully know the mind of God. I will have some understanding of His precepts and the things He says in His Word.
Yeah.
But I will never fully know this mystery of the Supreme Being that, you know,
I'll never know it. But
created us
so perfectly as well. I remember like even thinking about life itself, and because whilst being on bed rest and stuff, I think one of my main questions was like, God, why did you save me? I used to just sometimes think like, why? Like, why did you save me? You know, and I will start thinking about scriptures that really speak about God's love for us. Even down, one of my favorite scriptures is about God knowing the amount of hairs on our head. Because I think one time I had braids and I took it out and I just saw all the strands. You know, sometimes, just as you said, it's all of the small things. It's when you because I think sometimes people want those huge miracles, but you can literally see the miracle and the love of God in your day-to-day life in just intricate small things. I remember just seeing all my hair that was like coming out with my braids. And I was just thinking, oh my God, like, I'm just losing so much hair.
Yeah.
And then like I actually looked closely and I was just like, in that bunch of hair, I can only imagine how many strands of hair are in there. And yet, even with me losing those hair, it's like God has a count of what is still remaining. And it just made me like, I just remember just being in bed and I just be like, God, why did you save me? And I just be thinking like, God's love, like He's created us. So even sometimes when I think about our organs and how perfectly they work together, I'm amazed. How many times our heart beats a day, I'm amazed.
On its own.
Like, okay, we're talking, we're having a conversation right now, but inside our eyes are sending and our mouths are sending signals to our brain to make us think about this. Like the way things are moving so quickly. And I don't believe we developed from gorillas that helped us to get to where we are right now. Yeah. Because
even if we did, that is still the hand of God moving.
It's still the hand of God
through time and nature.
He's created us so perfectly, and it's even with that, just ordaining our steps on a day-to-day basis, protecting us on a daily basis. It's like he's so amazing. He really is, and just basking in. I think since that accident, every day, there's times I'm just quiet, I'm just looking to the sky, sometimes just vibes in my head, because I'm just honestly just taking in the beauty of God's creation and the fact that it's a blessing to even still be able to take in the beauty. You know, we have eyes we can see, we have ears we can hear, and yeah.
You're created for such a time as this.
Such a time as this.
Whatever that means to you, I just feel like releasing that over you.
Thank you so much.
I think that's so beautiful.
That's so crazy that you say that, because I've just finished reading Esther. So, yeah.
Prophetic. But I think that it would be really nice to like delve into, obviously, you know, it talks about like the note to self journals, and I'm sure they're impacting so many around the world. So thank you for your yes in that regard.
Thank God.
Where do you feel like God is calling you to? Like, what do you feel like? Okay, so you know, I don't think you're as consistent on YouTube these days.
No.
But you are creating the products, which is, I think YouTube is a platform, and then you create other things, which is where I think you are. But beyond that, what do you think you're being called to? Is there something that God is dropping in your spirit in this season, especially when like you're stepping away from certain things?
Yeah. I think it's so interesting to say that, because just as like with this new age as well, I've really been thinking about, you know, what's happening in the next, what's going on. I think within my personal life, I know God is calling me to accept love.
Okay.
I feel like, in this one of the new seasons is God is really calling me to accept healthy love.
Healthy love.
I recently just got into a very healthy loving relationship, and dealing with toxic things in the past, I found it hard to accept that this love was available for me.
Hello gorgeous people, thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. If you would like to see the rest of the visual side of this episode, you can go to my Patreon via the link in my bio and become a patron. Is it patron or patron? Become a patron of my content on there, so you get some exclusive longer length videos or full length videos on there. Or you can listen to the full audio version for free on a podcast app of your choice, such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and so much more. Thank you so much for tuning in, and see you in the next episode.
I broke up with my ex. That was such a long breakup, my gosh. Ooh, but we broke up. No, you know them ones.
Every time I'm trying to leave,
like, someone keeps pulling me back. I think right now is why I'm starting to prepare my mind for what's next, i.e. marriage and stuff like that. It's just so amazing to know that there's still good guys out there in the world.